Hi everybody and welcome back to another MRE Security YouTube video. Today we're going to be taking a look at ClassifiedReaction on the PerfectRoot CTF. So this challenge says it's just a coming soon page, nothing much. We are still working on it and it says get connection info. We will quickly spin up this instance and paste it on into our URL bar. But after a while, we can see that it does say create next app. So we're looking at probably a Next.js website, as well as just some initialization stuff saying coming soon. We can obviously check the page source to see what is going on. And we can see here that there is a weird comment. But other than that, there's really not a whole lot going on here. Now, if we go over to Burp Suite, we could take a look at some stuff that is going on in the backend and just see maybe what are some server headers. Now, during the CTF, I did not complete this. I actually needed to get a little bit of help from someone else because when I did try this specific attack, it did not work for whatever reason during the CTF. But we're going to go through it together step by step. And I'm going to try to explain it to the best of my ability because this vulnerability is so new and there's so much information coming out that I don't know which way to look. So we can see here that there are Verity, and we see that there is RSC, there's the next router state tree, and so on and so forth. We could also see that, again, it is a Next.js application. Now, if you don't know what's currently going on in the cybersecurity industry, there is a massive vulnerability going on right now called React2Shell. And essentially what this is, it's an unsafe deserialization vulnerability inside of a React DOM web package. And it is a very scary vulnerability because it's unauthenticated. So if you have a specific version of React and you are vulnerable to it, technically anyone can go about exploiting it and gaining access to your systems through RCE. So there's no special permissions that you need. You just need to be outdated for the React or Next.js versioning. If we head on over to React2Shell, and we'll just go over to Rapid7 quick, we can learn a little bit more about what is going on with this specific vulnerability. And it says that CVE 2025-55182 is a critical unauthenticated remote code execution vulnerability affecting React, a very popular library for building modern web applications. The CVSS severity was a 10 out of 10, which you know is not good whatsoever, which is the maximum rating possible and indicates the highly critical nature of the situation. Now, it all comes down to the way that React is structured, and the React server components were the affected targets, and the server application may still be vulnerable if the application does not have explicit implementation of any React server function endpoint, but does support React server components. And there are a few mitigations, but the biggest one is just to update to the latest version. So these three packages are the vulnerable ones, but this was disclosed December 4th, and today I believe is December 7th. So the fact that this CTF came out with a challenge having to do with this is absolutely insane. But we can come over here and we can just type in something like CVE, I don't even remember it anymore, CVE 2025. We have to scroll up a little bit to see what exactly it is. 55182, and let's just do something like exploit POC, and this should be able to give us a proof of concept, maybe on GitHub or on a different platform that we can go about using. And let's see if maybe this one works. And it looks like this may be the payload that I was using. So we could try to see if this works. I don't know if it will. I don't know if it won't. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. It's very finicky on this CTF, but we're going to try it anyway. So inside of your Burp Suite, because we do need it to be a post request, you can just right click on it and click change request method. And that's going to go and change the post request and add a couple of headers that we're going to need. Additionally, you can just remove almost everything from here and simply paste in that said payload. And all this should be good to go. If we click on send, again, I don't know if this is going to work or not. And it looks like it may work. Maybe. Internal server error. So maybe this is not the payload that we want to use. Actually, let's try to see if we could do like ls or something instead of xcalc. because xcalc is probably not going to work on this specific machine. But this is the error that I was running into before, which was it continuously halted and waited, and there was no way of actually executing anything. It's going to show a timeout error, and it's just not going to work. But because of TryHackMe, we can actually try to use their payload that they've supplied on this new box called React2Shell CVE 2025-55182. And again, TryHackMe, fantastic platform, and I'm probably going to do this box with you guys in a separate video and go a little bit more in depth of the specific vulnerability. But let's head on over to the true proof of concept. And as we can see here, they do have some things a little bit different than the payload that we had. First things first is the NextJS request ID. I don't really know if you need that or not. Same with this NextJS HTML request ID. Again, I don't really know too much about this vulnerability, but when I heard it, I figured that this was probably the way into the machine. But coming back over to our burp suite, let's just quickly modify it. So we'll copy all this stuff except for the host as well as the method. We'll paste it on in. And essentially all it's doing is it's going to be sending over a process for ID. And if it times out in 5 seconds, it's going to kill the process and be done with it. So let's cancel this quick, click on send again. And this payload does work. So as we could see, we are retrieving the ID or the identifier of this specific machine. And as we can see, there are no cookies. Again, completely unauthenticated. So very scary vulnerability. And I honestly don't even know where the flag is on this machine because I didn't actually do this box until the very end. It looks like it's here. So if we do cat flag.txt, we'll be able to retrieve the flag, and React2Shell, we proved it works. Very interesting vulnerability. I'm going to do a little bit more research on it, and maybe I'll have a full dedicated video associated with this specific vulnerability because it is currently hitting the wild like crazy. There's a lot of people out there that are currently trying to bypass WAFs as well and see what else they can do with this specific vulnerability. And threat actors, now that they know about it, they're probably going about exploiting this vulnerability in the wild. Terrible situation all in all for cybersecurity community as a whole, because now we have to figure out a way to go about remediating the problem and getting all of the companies up to speed with the latest vulnerabilities, which can take some time. And unfortunately, time is our biggest weakness in cybersecurity because threat actors, they're on it. We have to take our time and make sure that things get done properly and securely. Again, terrible vulnerability, but if you do want to check it out, you can head on over to PerfectRoot and try this specific challenge out for yourself. Or you can also go on to TryHackMe and they have a full walkthrough about the box, what it is, how React responds to the deserialization attack, why it works, and all that other stuff, as well as you do get a box here that you can quickly spin up and try it out for yourself. So if you did enjoy this video, please let me know in the comment section down below, but please like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.